All right, we're going to continue our discussion of Phase 4 Marvel Cinematic Universe. This time we're talking about probably the most important movie of the early Phase 4 lineup. I would say it could be the big launch pad for not only a huge story arc in Phase 4, not only more backstory for Phase 3, but possibly a huge story arc for Phase 5, maybe even Phase 6, depending on what they have planned. Of course, we don't really know what they have planned. We can only speculate, which is what we're going to do here on this video. Talking about the Eternals coming out in September 2020. And joining me to discuss this, Hayden is back. Hello.
Hey guys, I am back to discuss all things Phase 4.
Now, with Eternals, okay, growing up, it was not a major Marvel title whatsoever, but neither was Guardians of the Galaxy. And with the MCU, because they've executed great films and done a good job, I feel like they could take these, B properties and make them into A properties. Now, the one thing the Eternals does have going for it is that they're very powerful. It has a huge cast. I mean, this movie has quite an ensemble cast. Richard Madden, Tyree Henry, Salma Hayek, Angelina Jolie. There's a lot of big actors in this movie, and it's going to be introducing the Eternals. Plus, I think the big thing they have to bank on, to me, is the success of Thanos as a villain, because he fits right into this hand in glove. And I think with Thanos being such a great villain throughout Phase 1, 2, and 3, I feel like that's going to help give this movie momentum, because I can't imagine this film will not have Thanos in it, at least in flashbacks. I'm totally expecting it to happen.
I think he'll loom over this movie, kind of like how Tony Stark does now posthumously over
I
the
certainly
Spider-Man.
hope so,
because he's so popular, and people are they're gonna need an in for people to want to get into this movie. And Thanos is the perfect. I mean, Thanos is so popular that you could just have him in the poster as like a Force ghost, and people will probably go see the movie. So,
dude, that's actually brilliant marketing right there, bro. Put him in there. Why not in the background? Yeah, I mean, we've got, it's going to be the story of Icarus, or so we assume, fueled by cosmic energy. And we're going to probably find out, more about the Celestials. And this is going to be a real big foray into cosmic Marvel. I can see this being one of those films where we're going to eventually see these guys on screen with the Guardians and maybe the Nova Corps. There's a lot of possibilities here. What are you expecting as far as where it takes place? Because like we talked about Black Widow, I could see this taking place after Endgame, with the Eternals and the Celestials sort of reacting to the death of Thanos and what he's done with the snap. Because remember, Far From Home showed us the repercussions of the snap on Earth. What about all the other worlds in the universe? There's other worlds that lost half their population. This movie could be the first one to explore how they react to those things, how it affected those characters, heroes, and villains.
I really hope so, because, I mean, the snap went throughout the universe, and half of all life forms disappeared. So all the high-powered groups of cosmic beings, the upper cosmic beings, half of their races blipped in and out.
Right.
So they've got to be wondering what's up. They've got to be kind of activated now by this. In fact, I thought the Celestials were going to wonder what was up, why half of them disappeared in Endgame and then show up. That didn't end up happening, but that might be explored here.
That could happen here. Not to mention that, like I was saying a few minutes ago, it could be like a Black Widow thing where the movie takes place after the snap, but it has flashbacks throughout the movie of, the birth of the Celestials. The Eternals and Thanos, how he ties in. Maybe we'll see Thanos' son, Thanos' brother. I mean, I think Thanos is to me, bro, we agree, he is the unifying key to making this movie a thing. He's the transition.
Connective tissue.
Connective tissue. That's what I meant to say. Sorry, continue.
So this could take place a number of places. This could take place in flashback on Titan. Right. Because that was populated by Celestials. It doesn't state that directly in Endgame, but they are Celestials on Titan. It could also take place on Earth. And although I wouldn't like to see another MCU movie take place on Earth, there is kind of grounds for that in the comics, because one of the more recent, actually probably the most successful Eternals run by Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr. in 2006, kind of they were all dormant on Earth, and they'd forgotten their memories, their amnesiacs, and Icarus goes around awakening them in the different parts of the world where they reside, showing them that they're Eternals. and
Well, that's a
then
great idea because it would explain where the hell they've been all these first 3 phases. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yes. They can't have just been these godlike beings who could have helped but didn't. Although you could kind of say that they're so detached from the human condition because of their status as gods. I mean, they're not even humans at that point. That they weren't concerned with it, but I believe they would be. So I think that they're going to be either dormant on Earth, being woken up, or elsewhere in the universe, kind of coming together for the first time.
Right. Now,
So,
I'm excited to see
yeah.
Icarus, but I'll be real with you. The one I'm really excited to see is the forgotten one, Gilgamesh, bro. Like, I am hyped to see that character portrayed on the big screen because ever since I was a kid, right, I've only seen a little bit of Gilgamesh. He's such a cool looking character and one that I always thought would be such a badass in these movies, and now we're actually going to see it on the screen. Like that's what I do like about the B titles becoming movies is that you get to see these characters that as a kid, you know, it's not Spider-Man, it's not the X-Men, it's not the Fantastic Four, but you have like a weird attachment to them. Like a lot of kids have like their own little sort of favorite characters before they became big. Like for example, Deadpool, way before the Deadpool movie and way before even the Deadpool kind of comedic run, he was always a cool looking character, one that I loved even in the early days, in the New Mutants era. And you know, other like Moon Knight, like there's another one that as a kid he never got that much love, but now he's getting love now all of a sudden. So I'm excited
for me.
that.
That's Black. That was always Black Bolt for me, but now obviously that's not coming.
The Sentry is another one.
Oh, I would love to see that. Oh yeah, we're going down a whole rabbit hole now, but there's definitely so many characters I can't wait to see. That's why Phase 4 is so exciting for me because it's not on rails. We're not just reaching an inevitable conclusion, and we're all not there just to see how it happens. Now it could be anything set up. So with
the mystery is working. Yeah, continue.
Yes, this and I think is a perfect segue into that topic because this sets up a lot of stuff. I mean, you've got the Eternals set up by the Celestials,
right?
Millions or thousands and thousands of years ago, when the Homo erectus were wandering around, and when the Celestials came to Earth for the first host, as they call it, their first visitation to Earth.
Right.
They experimented and they made the They made the Eternals, and then they made the Deviants, who were going to be consumed. They were like little caviar bites.
Are they in this movie? The Deviants?
I think they will be. I believe that they're going to be the antagonists for this movie because they're so intrinsically linked to the Eternals. They're kind of their counterpoint. And so the Deviants, the Eternals, and then the third group that the Celestials experimented on were Homo erectus, who were implanted with a latent X gene, which over time would develop into, they would become Homo superior.
AKA
and they would become the mutants.
So
exactly.
Your theory is that this film could lay the very early seeds, even if it's one or two throwaway lines, for what could end up leading to mutation, that being part of Phase 5, aka the X-Men. And of course the various X-Men villains and other X teams. I love the idea, and if you put it together with the other idea we had about having Scarlet Witch be the catalyst in WandaVision or in the Doctor Strange movie, it could just as easily be a situation where she awakens the latent X gene, and then we could end Phase 4 with mutants awakening little by little, and then maybe even... The only thing that would be weird is, you know, are we going to retell the story of Xavier and Magneto? I mean, I personally think that in as far as the world of mutants go, X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor, Excalibur, and all the villains, you have to have Professor X and Magneto be that connective tissue. They are the centerpiece of that storyline. You know, but that could not happen for quite some time. I mean, I might not see them on screen for till Phase 5, Phase 6 even.
I don't know how the hell you could have the X-Men without Magneto and Professor X.
You have to, right?
How they're going to do it a third time and make it fresh and different and not have them be like young kids or something like that, that spin.
And it's too bad because Patrick Stewart and James McAvoy are so freaking good, and they might even be in the MCU as these characters.
I mean. I could live with that, honestly. If they could figure out if Kevin Feige can work his magic and finesse them in without it being shoehorned, that'd be great.
Same thing with Fassbender. Fassbender's great as Magneto, bro. Even though people are saying they want him to be Doctor Doom, which would be great as well. So he's
definitely got the stuff to be Doctor Doom.
So are you expecting any kind of Marvel space cosmic artifacts to be featured here? Because the Infinity Stones are not the centerpiece of the story, but that doesn't mean they're gone forever. We might see them again at some point with time travel or with Celestials getting re-involved again. Could that be a thing here?
I believe that the Infinity Stones are a kind of a cosmic constant. Like, they can be destroyed, but in a way, I feel like they will always come back. I don't think that they're going to factor into the plot of Phase 4 and Phase 5. At least I hope they don't. I don't see how you can have certain things that they're definitely setting up without the Soul Stone, namely Adam Warlock and his presence in Guardians 3. He kind of is the Soul Stone.
Oh, by the way, I made a mistake. I meant to say, when I said September 2020, it's November 2020. Sorry, continue.
But yeah, I think that this is going to have some cosmic... I hope that this sets up some of the cosmic entities. Like,
you mean like Infinity, Eternity, those characters?
Yes, Living Tribunal, One Above All. Those, I hope that they are at least alluded to in this and get a little bit more of a direct mention, because I was expecting to see them in Endgame.
Yeah, because what Thanos did. You would think that if this movie's going to be... If this movie... Okay, so I think, in my opinion, the early Phase 4 films, like what they did with Far From Home, should be somewhat reactionary to what Thanos did, because what he did was a huge, gigantic crossover event, the biggest in all cinema, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
All of cinema. History of cinema, and in the comics, it was big, too. You would think that would be a factor here. You would think that you would have the gods, the Marvel gods, the in-betweener, having some kind of discussion about the ramifications of what Thanos did.
Well, they said that Phase 4 is going to be, quote-unquote, highly cosmic.
Yeah.
So I think that means building out that lore to, its fullest. They've shown us that they're not afraid to now set up pretty much everything that they have in the comics and put it on screen. So I don't see how you can go highly cosmic without going for the higher cosmic beings.
Right. You have to at least mention them. They don't have to get involved yet. But you're right. I kind of wanted to see Living Tribunal get involved in the Infinity Gauntlet storyline in the movies. But at the same time, what they did with Stark and the time travel, I think, even though that storyline was not exactly one from the Avengers story, the Avengers comics at all, it was
very much like Avengers Forever. From the early 2000s, Kurt Busiek run. That was collecting Avengers from all around the time stream, from different eras to descend on Kang.
Yeah, Kang the Conqueror.
Him.
Yeah. Well, that's and I thought he was going to be in the movie. There was even a rumor about that covered on here. There was a big rumor, but no, and not just that, but what I was going to say was that Endgame was not a direct adaptation of what happened to Thanos, but it felt, and this is where the Russos succeeded here, that storyline with time travel and meeting themselves in the past and yada yada yada. That's total comic books. Like, this is like,
oh man,
dude,
it was perfect.
Yeah, it's almost like they captured a comic that doesn't really exist. It's weird.
It was the first time it felt like they were forgetting to be grounded. Like, they weren't worried about that, and they were going for event comic, like summer blockbuster, Secret Wars level, like just storytelling on the highest, the stuff that you read comic books for, to get this crazy mashup, to see everybody teaming up all at once. They pulled it off in a way that I didn't think was possible, honestly. I thought that they were always going to pare down the realism and try to make it believable, but they just blew our minds.
So what are your expectations for Eternals?
So Eternals, I'm hoping that it is, well, one, I'm kind of salty that they seem to be, and this is my skepticism here. I'm not salty about it because I'm excited for this movie, but this is a Jack Kirby story, and a Jack Kirby IP that he created after leaving DC and creating the New Gods, the Fourth World, Darkseid, Mr. Miracle, All-Father, all this stuff.
Some of his best work ever, really.
Some of his best work ever, for sure. The Eternals, in my mind, is a slightly watered-down version of even though they're totally different. But they are so similar.
They are similar, yeah. They're not that different, I was going to say.
They're not that different, but they are very, very similar. And I think that this, much like Thanos, prevents DC from bringing those characters to life, at least for a very long time. I think this is kind of a tactical, as much as it sets up Cosmic Marvel, I also think that this is a strategic maneuver to kind of box out DC from doing the Fourth World and the New Gods. They can't bring Darkseid and all them, just All-Father and Orion.
Yeah, but they've always been ahead of DC, bro. Justice League came out 4 years after the Avengers. They've always been ahead of DC.
Yes,
DC's
for sure.
Always
they can't wait up
catch
for
up.
DC. They're not doing that. But
hell no,
at the same time, this is such a random choice and with such extreme similarity to the New Gods, that it made me think, maybe like kind of consider whether or not it was a tactical maneuver. But that being said, what I'm most excited for about this movie is Eros, Star Fox, Thanos' brother in the
Is
comics.
he confirmed to be here?
I don't know, but he's an Eternal, and he is such a weird and wacky character. I want to see how they navigate that character and bring him to life.
It's the Thanos tie-in. I also love how Kevin Feige said, this is a while back when he said it, that with Eternals, it's going to be like an Ancient Aliens type thing where they kind of where things that happen in humankind's past is actually their doing, and I always like those things. Like they're teasing that with the Loki TV show as well. You know, like certain events like Area 51 or whatever was actually the Eternals doing it. And I've always been a big fan of movies doing that kind of stuff. I think with Apocalypse, they kind of did that with Ed Sabanur. You know, he was worshipped as a god, even though he was just a mutant. You know, and that's another question then. It actually brings me to another point right then and there. If the Eternals are going to end up being, quote, ancient aliens, and if they trigger mutation, this could not only tie into Thanos, but it could tie in way later into Apocalypse if they want to go that route.
It could. It could tie into Inhumans also if they want to try to.
Oh God, I think we're done
save
with that
catastrophe, because the same group of Homo erectus that went on to become mutants, the Kree visited them sometime in between there when they were homeless and turned them into Inhumans by experimenting on them. So there's kind of a shared history there. The Eternals, the Inhumans, the mutants, they're all connected in a way through this movie. So, there's just so much groundwork here that it's such a fertile soil.
Fertile. Well, again, this is fertile soil, necro. No, but this is going to be an important movie. It's going to be an important movie to the future of the MCU and to set up a lot of things. I think if it's good, it'll be one that we're going to be revisiting a lot, because this could be where they lay the groundwork for a lot of different things. So even when we're in the future, phase 4, phase 5, phase 6, we could go back to this movie and be like, oh, so that's a reference to that. That's a reference to that. I think this movie's going to be very important, and it'll be viewed many times. So leave a comment. Of course, let us know what you think about the Eternals film, what you want to see, what you don't want to see. Are you excited about it? And any final thoughts, Hayden, before we close?
Final thoughts are, I hope this movie is spacey and weird, very colorful, and Marvel's really good at getting unknown IPs over by making them fresh and exciting. So I have faith that they're going to make this work.
People forget that Iron Man for a long time was not an A player, bro. In many ways, it was 2008's Iron Man that kind of put Tony Stark back in the limelight, because he was not really an A player for a long time. You know, Spider-Man, the X-Men, the Hulk.
The Avengers, period, were not like a flagship team of Marvel's.
Only for a very brief time, right? When the X-Men came in, they dominated. So, and it's going to be the same thing in the MCU, dude. When the X-Men come in phase 5 or whatever, it's going to be a big deal. So, thank you again, Hayden, and we'll talk to y'all in the next one.
Thank you.